John Simitowski is going to do his marketing tools workshop, and he's also been joined by Brandon Fuller of Raise the Roots to help him out. So let's hear it for John and Brandon.
Thanks, everybody. In this room just a few minutes ago was also a session on marketing tools. So in an effort not to repeat what they were just saying, we're going to kind of do a little bit of a highlight tour of some of the newer things that maybe you weren't aware of in marketing tools. And then I've asked Brandon to join me to show you how to really organize the assets for marketing tools and templates, because he did an amazing job for Ocean Conservancy. So it's stuff I would like to use in all the demos I do. For those of you I haven't met, I'm John Simitowski, the Enterprise Solutions Architect, which means I probably did the demo for you when you were first becoming a client. I'm on the growth team, so that's my role, and also all the RFP responses, all the questions about how all this stuff works. I usually write those. And so what I want to highlight a couple of things. I'm in one of my test accounts here, where I was just playing around with some stuff, getting ready for yet another demo. But what I want to point out, just some of the highlights within the tools, that some of the things you may not have noticed. So when you go into the Marketing Tools Builder, inside the email builders, you roll down this right side when you've got the Settings tab up here. One of the newer items in here is attributes. So attributes were in the legacy builder, but they are now in Marketing Tools. This was fairly recent, happened a couple months ago. Something that I'd been clamoring for ever since we launched Marketing Tools. So thankfully it's there. What attributes allow you to do is apply the same way you apply these to pages. They then act as report filters. So I think it's really helpful to be able to use those in here. So it's going to pull up that list of attributes. It's the same list of attributes for your pages as well as your messages. So this is a great way to maybe label what that message is about. So if you did like 6 messages about global warming, well, then you can now with the new reporting tools, you can use those attributes to filter your email reports in the new reporting tools to say, well, how did all of our global warming messages perform in terms of opens, clicks, and conversions? So I think that is a huge help when it comes to the reporting side of things. One other change, the 5 fields that appear below that, which you may not have enabled in your account. These are called external campaign references. These will occupy particular slots in the transaction data that comes out. So these are available to pull over to your CRM. These 5 fields, you can label them whatever you want to. In this sample account, I just happen to label campaign, fund, appeal, package, general ledger code. They're there for whatever you want to track. So if you do source, subsource, whatever your scheme is on how to track things, these are additional reference fields for you to be able to insert. Now, the change that occurred recently was that if you include values in these fields, any linked pages will inherit these values. It used to be that the page did not inherit them. That's the change we made, because you might set a default value on a page for a fund code, for example, if it's a donation page, but from this email you want to populate in a different fund code. So now the page will inherit what's set in the emails inside the message. The other thing to note about the first one of these, if you are using our Salesforce integration, this will then turn into a drop-down arrow just like this one up here, and you'll have your list of campaigns from Salesforce populated in there. So if you want to associate your messages with a particular Salesforce campaign, you can do that. It'll tag that campaign into the transaction data. So then if you're pulling the open, click, and conversions data out of Engaging Networks and pushing it over to Salesforce, you can then assign those folks as campaign members once they open, click, or convert, for example. So 2 things you might not have noticed in this area, but I think really important to help you do some things in here. One of the other inserts that's now available in the link picker is to include now. You click on the link and insert. There's a couple in here. We added in the next suggested gift value, so that can appear on the page. So with next suggested gift, that's actually a combination of doing something on a donation page and doing something here in the email. you set up next suggested gift on the donation amount field on a donation page to trigger either using the most recent contribution value or the highest previous contribution value for the supporter, to, instead of displaying your default amounts on the page, to display a unique set of ask amounts on the page. Well, here in the email, you now have the ability, as you did in the legacy tools, to insert a singular value from that string that's set on the page. So if the string on the page is set up to take the person's highest previous contribution value, add $50 onto it right away, add another 50, add another 50. So if I gave 200 previously, the page would show 250, 300, 350. Well, what this does is allows you to pull that first value and populate that into the email. So it's a unique ask amount for each and every donor who receives this email. So I would see, John, would you consider giving $250 in the email? I then click on that link. I go to that donation page. That number is populated in the form already. So that way, it lets your donor make that unique selection based on their prior giving, and get that right into the donation page so they can do that. We then also added in inserts, mail to. This probably should say insert mail to link, not just email link, because that is going to then trigger a mail to instead of an HTTP. And then we also put telephone link in here. I also heard recently there was a client who was asking if we could then track the number of clicks on these mail to links. Because they were saying that oftentimes they don't set up an email to target action. They just want to provide a link for the supporter to send an email to their elected official if it's like a very urgent issue. They just don't have time to set up the link. So that's something we're looking at. This literally just came up a couple weeks ago. So it is something that's being looked at. So that's as much as I wanted to do in the email builder. The other big step forward with marketing automation was that we have now moved the new builder, the new email builder, into marketing automation. So it used to be that you had just a legacy builder in here, but now the new builder is in here, and you have a couple of choices. So it's similar to how you start a message in marketing tools. You can start from a template that'll select any of your marketing tools templates and allow you to use those. You can copy from another automation, or you can copy from any of your broadcast messages. So this will then give you a list of all of the broadcast messages you sent out using the new builder, not your legacy ones, because you need to have them in the new builder to get all those handles to come up in the editor. So if you were waiting for marketing tools for marketing automation to catch up with the broadcast tools, it now has. So it now has the new builder available. So you get to take advantage of the nice slick new builder in there as well. I think we also reordered some of the decisions in here as well. Okay, maybe we didn't. No, we didn't. Okay. I thought I saw some changes to that, but I'm just dreaming of things now. But anyway, just wanted to point out a couple of those things that are new in the tools. In the prior session, there was a question about testing and what people use for testing. And the answer in that prior session was Litmus or email on ACID. I've been having some conversations with Litmus because we've for years said, well, what if we built Litmus into the dashboard? So this is not the product guy saying this. This is not the product guy saying this. Don't applaud. This is a sales guy saying this. So it is an initial conversation that we've had with Litmus. It would require a Litmus subscription for you to add that, but the idea is that we're going to look at allowing you to have your Litmus account inside the dashboard, so that way you don't have to send stuff externally. So it is not a product roadmap promise. That's for Marta in a later session. But this is something that I've been working on because we're trying to solve another issue for a client with Litmus, and so it's just what I'm hopeful we can get. We talked about doing this for years, and maybe it's finally the time to get it done. So there you go. Yeah, and other things that you might not be as aware of in here, I like to point this out when I do demos, is that, and so the Wi-Fi is really slow. But there's the managed suppression list in here. So any of the addresses that have been suppressed for whatever reason, I don't have any hard or soft. This is a test account, not really sending email from it. But you can view, if you've spent any time in here, you can view a record that's been suppressed, and this will actually link you to that supporter record, and will show that particular address is suppressed, and it will give you the ability to unsuppress it as well. So that's just something that's available in there. Maybe you're not aware that that's there. Just want to point out that it is there. And yeah, I think that is kind of some of the highlights of what I wanted to hit in here. Now, the other thing, how many are using SMS in Engaging Networks? Just two. Okay, three. Okay, great. Thank you. So SMS is available inside the dashboard in a couple of ways. So there are SMS keyword replies. So if now this does require that you have an account with Twilio, because we use Twilio to actually send your messages. You build and segment your SMS messages here in Engaging Networks, but then we send it out through your Twilio account. So you can do things like if somebody, like for say you're doing an event and you want to, if somebody needs directions, they can text the word directions to your short code, and then you'll send back the directions to the event. So there's a lot of great uses for keyword response to get that quick information back out to your supporters. The marketing tools, this was this is a longer ago addition, but we do now have SMS available in the broadcast tool. So if you've noticed, when you start a broadcast campaign, it'll ask you, do you want to send email, SMS, or both? And you can do both in the same campaign. And it's just a simple viewer in here when you set up to do SMS. We give you a little frame like you're on a phone. Yes, it's also MMS. You can put logos in here, other graphics in here. We also made a recent change to allow a little video snippet in there, so that way somebody can actually see motion in that video rather than just being a frozen frame. That came about from a client request because we made that change. That was pretty recent. But you can assemble the message. We'll also shorten the URL in there. We'll also tell you what the length of that message is, so you know how many segments that'll cost you through Twilio. Different use of the word segment here, not segments for segmentation. This is segments for grouping of the message size. It was a lot of those same words used in multiple ways in Engaging Networks, if you haven't noticed that. At this point, what I want to do is let Brandon give you a little bit of a tour here of how he helped Ocean Conservancy get their assets organized. And in order to log into that account, I just need to do something here really quick.
Hello. I can just quickly introduce myself. My name is Brandon Fuller. I work at Raise the Roots. I have the Engaging Networks trifecta. I was an Engaging Networks client. I worked at Engaging Networks, and now I serve a lot of Engaging Networks clients. And we've done a lot of these marketing tool migrations and learned a lot along the way. So I'll just show you some examples from Ocean Conservancy, maybe just to maybe stir some creative juices on how you can use replacements and other things to achieve some cool stuff in the marketing tools. For those of you who hadn't raised your hands about SMS and setting it up in Engaging Networks, I hope you'll consider it. We've done this for a lot of EN clients, and it's so easy to create these messages, to manage those opt-ins directly in Engaging Networks, to set up keywords, to incorporate them into marketing tools, so that if maybe somebody's email just isn't delivering anymore, you can send them a re-engagement series that includes an SMS message if you have that. So there's lots of interesting ways to utilize the SMS in Engaging Networks.
Okay, so where are we going, Brandon?
All right, so go to templates, and we'll start with the one that's called generic broadcast. Well, no, that's the newer one. X out of there. We'll go to the old generic broadcast.
Old generic.
Let's scroll down a little bit. It's right down there. There you go.
Generic broadcast.
Yep. And the first thing I just wanted to show, I don't know if the people in the previous presentation talked about this, but you can look at your code and you can add these replacements in. And one of the most common ways that we do replacements is for colors. So if you have like brand colors and you have all this like a post-it on your laptop of all your hex codes, you can do away with your post-it because you can just add a replacement on any block that's going to include picture or colors. So exit out of here and we'll go to the visual builder. There you go. And let's just click on a button. So just click on the dive in button. And on the right, you can see that it says button text color and then button background color. And so basically on the backend code where you'd insert the background color or the text color, you can insert what's called a replacement. You can choose what kind of replacement. So is it like a select menu? Is it a text menu? Is it a rich text editor? You just choose select menu and then insert in there red and then your hex code for red, green, and your hex code for green. And that way, instead of having to remember those all the time, you can just have a drop down and change the color whenever you want.
Yeah, I think this is really helpful because it for non-technical users who don't know the hex codes of all the colors in your brand design, having the name of the color. Like I worked for the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute for 3 years. I will forever remember that AF2839 is Dana-Farber red, just because I had to insert AF2839 all the time. But if it just said Dana-Farber red, I could have just clicked on that. So that's Engaging Networks now allows you to do that kind of thing to help your less technical users make the right choices on when they're creating a message.
I used to work at a grocery store and I still remember the key number for bananas. Okay, so scroll down when I was 16. Yes. All right, if you
4080.
all right, so if you scroll down on the left there, we'll go to the block that has the little wave at the top. So we have this block. The Ocean Conservancy, they just redid their website. It's probably a whole nother template I'll show you next. But originally they had a lot of wave graphics in their website and they wanted to incorporate those into their Engaging Networks blocks. So I just want to point this out because there's a couple things here. So the first is that there's an option on the right for showing that button. So you could just do like display none in your code for that block and then add a replacement. So it's like display none for no, I don't want to show this button, or just leave it blank if you do want to show the button. And so that gives you these options to say like, turn on this thing, turn off this thing. That way you can have one block that has an image, it has a button, it has some graphics, it has, other things in it. And you can just decide for this block, it's a universal block. And in this particular instance, I want to hide this, but display this, and show this, but hide this. So you can kind of use that display code however you want. Also, they wanted like these waves. So we created graphics and they're just created in Canva. Shout out to Canva all day long. And we created waves in different colors that match sort of the designs of their website. And so you can add these waves to the top. So it says show top wave, yes or no. You can choose which of the wave designs you want to have there. You can then have the bottom wave show up. So if you want a wave at the top and a wave at the bottom. And basically this is just adding a row to the top and the bottom and dropping in a graphic and choosing which of those, when EN gives you that little URL for where your graphic is located on the internet, you can just drop that into that select menu and it will just render it in there for you. All right, so let's exit out of this one and we'll go into the generic broadcast 2025 rebanding. And if you go to visual, the first thing I want to show you is at the top there, they have like a view in browser forward to a friend bar. EN doesn't have forward to a friend functionality, but you can create a little URL that when somebody clicks on it, it opens an email just like John was talking about, and you can actually pre-populate what that message is going to be. So in this case, it says something like, I just saw this from Ocean Conservancy and wanted to share it with you. And in order to generate the little URL that people will see when they get that, all you have to do is just preview your email. You get that little URL from EM when you test preview your email. And I created here, if you go down, it's probably going to be way below that section. There, the view in browser. There's a space just to drop that URL in there. And so that'll get merged into that little email snippet. So when somebody clicks that link at the top, it'll open a new email message. It'll pre-populate it with, just wanted to share this with you. And then it'll have the URL for the EN preview, the web preview of your email. Also, this time around, Ocean Conservancy was going for this whole like cool modular look. So they wanted like content floating around in their email. So you can see like these are separated. Sometimes they wanted the like floating section to have a white background. Sometimes they wanted the background to match the current background. I could not figure out how to do this because I didn't want each block to have a different background color and all that. And so what I discovered is that you can use this tool in Engaging Networks called containers. So if you go into the HTML view of this, you can insert a container. There's this button to insert a container. That's basically like a space on the email where you can drop blocks onto from your block library. And so I created 10 of these containers, and in each container, I set like a background color, and I set whether or not you want to display or hide this container. So if you go back to the visual editor, all these little white blocks here are just containers. They currently hold content, but you can say like, do you want to display container number 2? Do you want to display container number 3? Because in some cases they said like, we need up to 10 containers because our newsletter is going to have all these like cool floating modular sections and we want to be able to control that. You can also change the background color so that the background color of this particular email will match the background color of the container, and that'll give it that like floating kind of appearance so that the content that's in that container it has the same background color as the actual email itself. So it's just like something you can kind of play with if you're trying to like have different sections. A lot of times we'll add a container to the footer so that we can have like a footer block for those trusted verification icon blocks or other kind of like stuff that you're constantly stuffing into a container, or maybe social media links or something that you want to have. That's mostly what I wanted to show.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll take questions if anybody has any.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, John and Brandon. Have we got any questions in the room, please?
Is it possible to create a variable at the template level that will insert into the block level? So like if I want the value to be same for every single block in my email, I can set it at the template level variables as opposed to putting it into the block.
Yeah, like font kind of variables.
Like maybe I have a piece of text that I want to repeat throughout all of it.
No. So on those blocks, the only replacements that'll be available will be replacements that are in that individual block.
Okay.
So like at the template level, you could have things for like CSS styling, colors, font, that kind of thing that'll apply to any paragraph tags or any H1 tags, but otherwise, no, it has to be in the block itself.
Got a few here on the app. So for a rebrand of the email design like Ocean Conservancies, how many weeks or months did it take to update all the blocks and templates in Marketing Tools?
It didn't take that long. We did all the first pass at moving to Marketing Tools. So all we honestly did was just take the existing blocks in many cases and updated the colors or updated the graphics, things like that. And then we just had to create some new ones because they'd come up with some new ideas and that new templates, so they could have their containers and that modular look. So I would say overall, to answer the question specifically, I think it was like a 4 to 6 week engagement from start to finish.
Great. I think this is probably a question for you, John. Are there any plans to move blocks from one folder to another? Currently, we don't have that option.
Blocks from one folder to another.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just hard to find.
Ah.
Yep. Yeah, and then you have the handles. And then you can, move to folder. So it's there, not easy to find.
Thank you. And one final question here. What do you do to force data validation on your marketing data capture tools, e.g. not using a fake auto-created Apple email or keeping digital trolls out?
Wow, that's a very specific question.
Very
Whose question was
specific.
that? They. Okay. Could you add a little context?
Some of our marketing tools like will have like the ability for them to like, you want to sign on to this, or like you want to bring, on to this initiative, and it, that you can like set up a fake email through your Apple, and so that syncs to our CRM, right? Yeah, and then we get things. Thank you. I didn't know that's the language. I'm not a specialist in this. I'm a data scientist. Or there's a lot of digital trolls, like Obama is submitting data, and then it says, like, the email says FUCK Democrats at gmail.com. Like, and we get like, I find like Russian, I'm trying to figure out ways to keep them out, because it's a lot of cleaning and deduping, and yeah, especially now with just the political climate we're in.
So you're saying this is on your like email to target pages where people are submitting?
Yeah, and we have also just marketing pages where we're asking, like, you want to sign on to this, or, what I'm saying, because we do advocacy, I'm just wondering.
I can't help you with the people who don't like Obama, but I can help you with.
You know what I'm saying? Like figuring
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
like if there's like
I think so on the Apple thing, I don't know there's going to be a solution for that, because obviously like they're working hard to avoid exactly what you're trying to do. But for the Russian attacks that happen, Engaging Networks, actually, if you go to the supportal, if you go to support.engagingnetworks.net, you can type in, I believe they call it a honeypot. So you can search for that, and you can create a field that's a hidden field on your pages, on those like marketing pages. And you add a little bit of like validation to it. And what happens is these Russian bots or whatever, they're scanning the page looking for fields that are on the page, and they'll just plop content into every single field and try to submit the page as many times as they can. So you add this honeypot field, it's hidden on the page, and you put some code in that says, if anything is in this field, don't allow the page to submit. Because the robots will see a field and they'll try to populate that field with data. And humans can't see the field because it's hidden. So humans aren't going to put anything there. So the validator says, oh, there's some text in this hidden field. That means it's probably a bot. We're not going to submit this page. And that's one way that like you can prevent these attacks from happening. So they're attacking this page like crazy, and you add a honeypot field on there, and the page will block all those like bot submissions. Yeah, it's CAPTCHA unfortunately has been hacked in a way that this is even like a step above CAPTCHA in terms of trying to stop those bot attacks.
Great, thank you.